You ever had one of those moments where you look back on a decision that you made and you say to yourself, I should have known better? That's kind of the experience that I had last night when I watched the E3 EA press conference. It was one of those moments where I was like, come on, Exonovit, you knew better, bro. I just went in there with, I don't know, such high expectations for this year's E3. I've been going through so much drama in my life. Some of you guys notice who follow my channel, I've been having issues with my eye and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm just looking for that refreshing E3. Because I remember, getting the Final Fantasy VII remake announcement, The Last Guardian. You guys remember that E3? And I'm like, come on, man, just make this one magical, just for me, please. And I was like, nah, it's just one of those, it's gonna go down as one of those moments and I'm gonna look back on and go, man, I should have known better. I even got up this morning and went for my morning run, ate some food, took a shower, got my morning routine done, and I sat down again and watched it again, guys, because I said to myself, maybe it was just me. You ever been in one of those relationships where you're like, maybe it's just me. It's not you, it's me. That's kind of how I thought about my experience with this press event. It was an absolute disaster, in my opinion. There were a couple of highlights, which we'll get into, but for the most part, guys, there was no substance here at all. I'm not going to be going in any kind of order with this. I'm just kind of shooting off the cuff here, remembering kind of what I saw. I know the first thing that they showed was Battlefield 5, and I was really interested to see where they would go with this because the previous Battlefield 5 event didn't go that well, right? I'm not going to say it went bad, because for some people, depends on how you perceived that event, it was amazing. For others, it was a train wreck. But no matter how you saw that event, everybody was looking forward to seeing more of Battlefield 5 at this event. And I thought they were going to come out on stage, do their little PR stuff, jibber jabber for a second, and then they were going to show me actual multiplayer gameplay. That's what I thought was going to happen. That's what I was expecting. I think everybody was expecting that. And then that's exactly what we did not get. And we know that multiplayer footage exists because Angry Joe says he's got some footage that he can't. I think the embargo ends tomorrow, I believe, and he is gonna put some out on his channel. And I think some other big commentators like Jack Frags, I think he's got some, because they got basically escorted to some back room somewhere at the previous event, and they got to play the game for 3 hours. So we know that the game is playable, right? And they didn't show it. They kind of showed a little bit of the multiplayer, but it was wrapped up in like this cinematic trailer thing. It wasn't an actual match. That's all I wanted to see. I'm not saying I got to see 30-minute matches, because I know Battlefield matches can last that long sometimes. Just give me 3 or 4 minutes of a match. Let me watch somebody cap a flag or do the new fortification system. Just let me see all that stuff in the context of an actual, in the actual gameplay, and I'm sold. Right? I'm ready to make a decision of whether I'm gonna buy your game or not. Instead, they showed the little cinematic trailer, and then they went on to talk about, Battlefield Royale. That was like their big announcement, is that they're gonna have a Royale mode. And look, I know people are gonna have mixed opinions on this, because everybody's kind of a hater on Fortnite, because it's anytime you've got something that's popular, it's automatically hated, especially in the gaming space. It's just the way it is. I personally haven't even played Fortnite. Don't know that I ever will. I'd be interested in giving it a shot, but I'm not like lining up to play it or anything. But I know with the Battlefield game, I don't know if I want to play that mode in the Battlefield space. I just don't, because it's almost like if Fortnite suddenly changed and put in modes like Rush, you see what I'm saying? Or Conquest. It just wouldn't fit. It wouldn't make any sense. So yes, are they trying to cash grab on this? Absolutely. Is that bad necessarily? I mean, it's EA, man. It's what we should be expecting at this point. The only way that I'm going to give them a pass on this is because it's an addition to modes that already exist. In other words, we're going to keep our conquest modes and our rush type modes, and they've got some other, modes they're adding in too. And then they're adding on the Royale experience. Does that make sense? So you kind of compare that to Call of Duty. They decided to pull out their traditional single player campaign and throw in their version of Battle Royale. I think that is where I would have given Battlefield 5 a hard time about this. But since it's a strict addition to what they're already offering, I don't feel like we're going to be losing anything that we're already used to getting with the Battlefield experience. Whatever, man, throw it in there. If I like the mode, I'll play it. If I don't, I'll just go play whatever I want to play that I'm used to playing with the Battlefield games, right? Now, once they wrapped up the Battlefield 5 portion of the conference, they went into FIFA, the sports titles. They went into Madden a little bit later on. They kind of jumped around with the sports titles. They spread them out a little bit, but you know, they covered all the major hitters, right? The Madden, the FIFA. They covered, I forget the other game they covered, but it was a basketball game. I'm not a sports gamer, so I kind of fell asleep during all of those. And I'm not trying to pick on you guys if you like playing sports, but it's just not for me, right? Anytime I see sports come up on the screen or racing games, I'm not a real big racer. I just kind of zone out. And I'm sure there's games where you're watching and you zone out. Maybe an RPG shows up and you're like, I'm not an RPG guy, so you zone out. And whereas me, I would be watching that, you know, because I like RPGs. It's just the way it works in the gaming space. The problem is when you have a company like EA and a big portion of their conference is going to be sports titles because they own all the licenses to them, right? It's like for people like me, it becomes very boring and hard to get through. And that not only that, but they spaced them out a little bit. They weren't back to back to back. So, you know, by the time you're done falling asleep, you wake up from one sports title, right? You go into a couple of the games, bam, you're back into another sports title. And what they did to reveal these sports titles was not even interesting. Like it was very bad. It was poor presentation. I felt like they were talking to a wall. Like even though they're sitting in a room full of a bunch of people and they know that millions of people are watching, right, live, right, from various outlets, it's like they weren't even talking to gamers. It felt like they were holding a shareholders meeting. That's what all these E3s always feel like to me, right? And because it's a part of it. It's part of the DNA of E3. Yes, they're talking to gamers. They're trying to convince us to buy their product, but they're also trying to let the shareholders know where they stand with these products. I mean, we know this, right? So I just think they got to do a better job of talking to me as a gamer, right? They're trying to convince me. Without my wallet, they all go down, right? But it just seems like that they were talking more to shareholders in this than me. The only pass I'll give to this though is the when they announced Sea of Solitude and Unravel 2. The two speakers that announced those games, in my opinion, I really felt like they connected with me, especially the woman who announced Sea of Solitude. She was nervous. She told you she was nervous. She's like, I'm just excited to be up on this stage, and I'm a small little indie, got a little small indie development team. We've got a game now, and like I can see how that would be super exciting and nervous, but I felt her on that. You know what I mean? It felt like she was being genuine with me, and I really was interested in finding out more about her game because it felt more personal, right? So Sea of Solitude, Unravel 2, I felt like those were really good presentations, and it's a shame that it's that way because those aren't AAA titles. Those are indie titles. You would think it'd be the other way around. That was the point of the conference. I was like, okay, kind of picking up some steam here. That sounds good. Oh, good. Okay. And then we get into the rest of it. They start talking about some subscription service that EA's trying to do. I think it was $15 a month or something like that. You know, it's kind of cool, man. It's like their little Netflix version of video games. We know that the digital space is going to be trying to take over. A lot of people have rumored that the consoles are going to be dying out after the next generation anyway, and it's going to be all digital. I don't know if I truly believe that or not. I think there'll still be room for consoles and stuff like that, but who knows? You know, we know that digital will eventually take over, and so this is their foot in the door. It just is. I think the saddest part of the conference was when they, oh my God, this is so bad, guys. If you go and you watch it, like let's say you haven't watched the conference yet, go and watch this part at least. It's comedy gold. So they get one of the, I think it was the head of Respawn Entertainment. I'm not really familiar with their production team, but I want to say it was the head guy of Respawn Entertainment. He's sitting out in the crowd, he got a hat on, he's chilling. And I'm like, okay, they're about to do something spectacular here because they had the shot framed up nice. on him and the person that was interviewing him. And I'm like, this is going to be crazy. They're about to do some kind of skit. There's about to be some people coming out of the, coming out of the seats, maybe dressed up as game characters. There's going to be some confetti dropping from the ceiling. Cause anytime they do shots like that, where they're in the crowd and it's not up on stage, you're like, oh, they got something cool planned. It's about to get crazy, right? And then nothing. They said, what game are you making? He said, I'm making a new Star Wars game. They were like, when's it coming out? He's like, next year. And I'm just waiting. Okay, when we'll have some stormtroopers coming in here. You know what I mean? Where's the craziness at? Nothing. They said, when's it gonna take place? He was like, somewhere in between episodes 3 and 4 in terms of the storyline for the game. And that was it. I mean, there was no concept art, no trailer, no nothing. He didn't even have like a title card or anything, like a title graphic. Nothing. It probably was the saddest reveal for a game, I think, in the history of E3. It has to be. And I'm sure it's going to get memed on YouTube here a lot with some, crazy soundtracks behind it or some sad music. I'm sure there's going to be some YouTube videos that meme it. It was just an absolute sad display of announcing the game. And I feel like he probably didn't want to announce it. I got the feeling that somebody probably hit him up a couple hours before the conference and was like, hey, you want to talk about your game? Because we need to have one more thing to talk about. And he was like, not really. And they said, well, you kind of got to. And then he just did it. That's how it felt like to me anyway, which is kind of sad. Because I think I feel like if he'd have known they were going to talk about his game, that he would have had some type of presentation ready. I mean, if the game's going to come out next year, which is what they said, 2019, I'm assuming holiday, then it's not like they're meeting on Monday morning to start developing this game. Surely they've already developed a lot of it already, right? If it's only a year and a half away from hitting the streets. So you got to bring something, right? But if they caught him off guard, he probably wasn't ready. So that's how I felt like that went. It's pretty sad, especially for it being a Star Wars game. I think after that they followed with Star Wars Battlefront 2. They were talking about how crappy that launch was and how many failures they had on that. In that regard, it was a dude up there basically apologizing. It's a PR move, but he was basically apologizing. I can't really applaud stuff like that because you don't applaud you don't applaud people for knowing that they're doing wrong, right? They know they're doing wrong by sticking it to us at every turn with little microtransactions and pay to win. They know that that's not what we're going to be into, yet they do it anyway. And then they apologize for it afterwards. Like that's not how you get an applause from me, right? Just don't do it. Then you got my vote. Just don't do it. You know that we don't like it. It's obvious that we don't. I know you make a lot of money from the people who fall for it, but the majority of the gamers don't like it. And every time you post a trailer or you talk about your loot box or your loot crates and the thumbs downs come up and the comments hit and you get blown up on Twitter, just don't put it in your game, right? Make it cosmetic. That's where I'm willing to compromise with microtransactions. No pay to win stuff. I don't want some random rolls, loot crates, and loot boxes and stuff like that. Take all that nonsense. I don't want to play the lottery when I play my video games, okay? Just let me know what I got to do, how much time I need to spend, and give me a reward for it. That's what I want. That's the kind of experience. And I think most gamers want that as well. So he basically got me and apologized, did his whole PR move. And then I'm not really sure what came directly I want to say maybe another sports title came after that. But then we get into Command and Conquer. So this was probably the worst point of the show for me, because they bring out these shoutcasters and I'm like, okay, here we go. They're about to do something crazy. And they bring out the shoutcasters and then they bring out these two guys. I don't even know these people. I don't know. Is there even a competitive mobile scene out there? I have no clue, because it felt like these two guys were like pro mobile players. It's what it felt like to me. They sit down on a little mobile devices and are playing this game, which at this point we didn't know the name of the game. We didn't know it was Command and Conquer. And they literally shoutcast this thing. It had to be for five minutes plus, 7 minutes maybe, something like that. It was a good length of time. And I was bored out of my mind. I was like, what? And it showed the whole game, right? The whole round, if you will. And I'm thinking, why couldn't you do something like this for Battlefield 5 to start your event, right? Why are you saving the shoutcaster moment for the mobile game? Come on, like it just felt backwards to me. I think Battlefield 5 with a couple people up on stage playing the game live, even if it's pre-recorded, and I know when they get into the pre-recordings, it's all cheesy. You know, it's like people who can't act, like, hey man, pick up that gun. You know, it's all weird, but still, that would have been better than the presentation we got for Battlefield 5, right? And then we finally get into Anthem. This was mixed for me. I remember seeing the initial trailer for this game and I got super hyped because I said, look, this is gonna be the Destiny experience that I did not get with Destiny. Like, they're gonna do it right. That's the kind of impression I got with the first time that I saw this game. And I said, okay, going into this one, as soon as I saw the title graphics go up and they started bringing the people up on stage, I was like, okay, let me see some actual missions being ran. Bring those shoutcasters back out here and let 4 people go in there with their, you know, their robots or their mechs or whatever and destroy some stuff, right? Take on some big boss fight or something. Nah, we didn't get that. We got 3 people up on stage. They're giving out their little bullet points. Every now and again, they throw in some gameplay, but it's nothing spectacular. Like, you guys remember when they announced God of War, they had the music, they had the orchestra, they played for like 5 minutes, and then they opened up the curtain and the little boy, you know, Atreus is down there playing with something in the dirt. I can't remember what he was playing with, but then, you know, he goes inside the house and it's Kratos, and then they go out, they're hunting, and then they fight the big troll on the ice. It was just cool, right? Not with this. They just ran around and just shot random little peon enemies. That's really all it was. And they showcased them being able to swim and, you know, fly like Iron Man and all that kind of stuff. But nothing that got me more hyped for the game. Nothing. There was nothing in that. And it lasted for like 20 minutes, it felt like. But I'm no more hyped for that game than I was before. And I should be more hyped, right? That's kind of what these events are designed to do, is build up your anticipation for these games. But unfortunately for me, it just didn't happen with that. So all in all, believe it or not, guys, the 2 games that I remember the most about this presentation is Sea of Solitude and Unravel 2, 3 games, and of course Anthem. I remember that from the presentation, but it just didn't excite me like I thought it was. Battlefield 5 is like a blur. All the sports titles a blur. When they were talking about that subscription service, blur. It was just Command and Conquer, blur. If you did not watch this conference, honestly, my opinion to you, my suggestion for you guys is don't waste your time. You're not missing anything. You're really not, unless you just want to go in there and laugh for like 45 minutes. Then you can have yourself a blast. It's comedy gold, in my opinion. But anyway, that's it, guys. Let me know what you thought about this conference, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Be good.